been since the last visit.
Okay.
Yeah. So what's been going on in your life?
You heard about the Ukraine war? It's not bad.
Is it stressing you out?
No, not yet. I mean, I think if it gets worse, yeah, but you know. And then we still don't have a roof yet. We still got a tarp on our house. Missing 2.5 rooms.
Seems like world events and personal events have really been stressing you out lately.
At times, yeah.
I mean, we're still just 7 months removed from a hurricane.
It's been that long?
It flies.
Wow.
So I guess you're feeling overwhelmed, and then you work.
Yeah. Sometimes.
How's work?
Oh, it's work.
Any interesting things happen lately?
Yeah, I just got things that happen, calls and different things we treat, and personnel issues, and I think the stress of home life is transitioning to work life, and kind of gets overwhelming.
Do you find you bring your work home, or do you find you bring your home to work?
It could be a little bit of both.
But I understand, as you know, I too used to work in that field, and I can empathize with what you're going through.
Yeah. I mean, the shifts get aggravating. Working 48s and 24s, and especially after the storm, when we were doing days on end with no end in sight.
You have a son, you want to watch him grow up, and those rotating shifts must get in the way. Do you feel like they're getting in the way of watching your son grow up?
Yeah, no. I mean, it's hard because you're not there. To see him do certain things or be there for certain events, baseball, soccer, basketball. But it's a part of life. I guess I chose this career.
You're doing great things for a lot of people, but you also need to make sure you're doing great things for the people closest to you in your circle. But those sacrifices that you make are very admirable, and the world is a better place because of that.
But I mean, is it?
The individual lives that you touch are better for it.
But it's like the drug addict that we visit 2 times a week. I waste time there.
Why do you feel that way?
I mean, we give them an Narcan, and we come back to the house 2 days later, and we gotta give them Narcan again. They stop breathing, we do CPR. That's. So are we making it a better place, or are we just delaying it?
So you feel discouraged?
Oh yeah.
And what do you think you could do to help their situation?
I don't know.
Do you think it's for you to help their situation, or is it for you to just give them an opportunity to do better next time?
I mean, it's hard because are we? You look at current events and current statements, and people are worried about the cost of medicines for insulin diabetics that are $500 to $700, and yet we're giving drug addicts a safety net.
Mm-hmm.
So what's right? Do you let natural selection take over?
But what part of that can you control?
Not much.
You can control helping that addict. You can't control the pharmaceutical industry.
But how can I control helping that addict when that addict returns and buys drugs after they can come out of rehab?
It's better to be a safety net than no net.
But again, you brought up admirability. Is it truly admirable in that individual?
Well, that individual definitely does need to resources that you're thankfully taking advantage of in pursuing a therapeutic relationship professionally.
You're right. You're right.
I feel like when you give him that Narcan, he now has a shot to turn it around.
He does.
And yet you are probably justified in feeling discouraged because you see it so often. But if you Narcan 12 people and one of those people gives up the smack, I think.
Well, I really think if you want to go from that perspective, it's just we don't hear that side of the story.
Mm-hmm.
We get the story of somebody that is a user. We don't ever get the final story. You know, and in a sense, it's like, you know, the pre-hospital stages of an incident is the forgotten part,
Right.
rather than the foundation part. The foundation only happens in the ER with, you know, psychologists and doctors working maybe their I don't want to call it judo, but their expertise into encouraging and pushing for treatment.
Do you feel like you would get more professional satisfaction if you had closure?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's anything. You know, that's anything.
And it's outside. It's outside your scope of professionalism to touch base with someone you've helped in the past.
It's not. It's just not always practiced.
What's the practicality of it?
I don't understand what you're asking.
Would you be able to, on your own volition, go down Skid Row and see if user XYZ is still out there?
I'm sure it is. Would be. Yeah. Yeah. It's just, you know, you can look at it like in an industry. You know, you got a safety guy that goes out and does paperwork, and then later that day just goes check on everybody. It's kind of unheard of. It's not a bad thing.
Mm-hmm.
And some of them welcome it, but some of them are suspicious of why you return. Same with the addict and the medic, or the addict and the fireman.
Are there any specific addicts that stay in your heart?
Not really. I mean, none that I think due to the onset and the length of time we've been dealing with this, it becomes one and the same.
Okay. So, how are things going otherwise?
Yeah, it's all right, man. You know, I don't know. Maybe it's time to leave this field. It started off as fun and adventurous, but now you get to know people in your community and you're treating people you know. And it's a whole nother world. And
So, since our last session, did you treat someone that you know specifically?
Yeah.
Did you want to talk about that?
I mean, I guess it's you know, you treat friends, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And it's one thing if you treat them a friend because they have a fall or they cut themselves, but it's one where they may have that medical issues that they don't want anybody to know about, but you have to know.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's hard to ask certain questions.
Right.
You know, it's hard to be able to justifiably go, hey man, I know you have XYZ disease, but I need to know that for my purposes.
Right.
You know, and are they going to be truthful and forthcoming because it's me, or do they feel much better because it's me? You know, it's that very heavy part of the job that we have to be mindful of.
And you feel a burden by having a dichotomy of being in a dual responsible relationship, whereas you're a friend or family member, but now you're also their helper.
Yep. Don't know what the word dichotomy means, but yeah.
Well, it comes from the Latin prefix die, which means two. Two things. So you didn't come here today for a vocabulary lesson. We're gonna continue addressing your issues and lack of issues, depending on where our conversation takes us. Does it bring you comfort, though, when you treat that person that you know?
Yeah, I guess because they trust me. It's that trust factor. And if you want to, talk about it earlier, we do get a follow-up. We do know what goes on. You know, anywhere from checking on friends, maybe with newborns or family members with elderly, or post-accident victims, you know, different things. You know, you are able to have that closure aspect of treatment, where we don't always get that. You know, we drop people off at a hospital, and go another run, or we get a fire dispatch, and you know that was the last time we saw them. Either to the next call or to the bits.
I got you. So, when you roll up on a scene and you recognize the house, someone you know, someone you treated in the past, do you feel that you're personalizing an emergency despite your attempts to stay objective? Or do you think operating on a different unit out of a different station would maybe help you continue to enjoy the benefits of this field without the complications?
I don't know, because we back each other up. So even though I may work in one area and family lives in the other area, I've responded in that area from the other station. So, you know, you try to stay objective, but you know, as even a personal friend of mine who's in the air doc said, can't trick family, and don't trick family, because you don't make objective decisions. You make very subjective decisions. Sometimes it's not the best, and it's hard to recognize it. Friends, it's unfortunately I can make that objectiveness because it's not a loved one. I don't love my friends, but you know, but I think it's part of the hazard of the job. Let's be honest. I mean, I understand working in a firehouse, you have fire hazards and different things like that, but I mean the EMS side of it is very much more mental. You know, there is the onset of the ability of maybe being exposed to a disease process, but I think mental health of an EMS responder is more prevalent than contracting HIV. You can start IVs and having people threatening spittle lists for the exposure route. You know, we may go a shift where we have 10 to 15 calls, maybe 2 deaths, a pediatric death or an elderly death, and you know, then I have to maybe go to your house because you stubbed your toe, and I have to give you the same sincere response that I give the other families, but I don't know the outcomes, or I may know the outcomes, and those outcomes may not be good or bad, or I may never find out. You know, I worked an incident where a fellow first responder was killed in a wreck that we physically worked. And I can remember dropping off at the hospital, handing over to the ER staff, and kind of looking at a partner. And next thing you know, the pagers go off and say, "We got to follow a nurse home we got to go to." And you walk out, and there's fellow coworkers out there, you know, trying to handle the news. But I had to go to that home, that little lady that broke her femur, and be caring and jovial and laughing and smiling.
So yeah, it definitely sounds like a lot of stress going on. So what do you do to unwind?
Go to the gym.
You go to the gym?
Try to go every day.
Do you do any meditation or relaxation exercises?
Put my music on, my headphones, and just go to the gym.
That's good. It's good to hear, because definitely a field where relaxation techniques and exercise and just stress relief in general.
I mean, something I was always taught was to do something outside this job, have friends outside this job, but it is also kind of hard because, you know, what happens when you get a bunch of firemen together? What is firemen talking about? Fires. Medics together, medical stuff. Cops, cop stuff. It's a hard relation because working shift work, you know, friends that work Monday through Friday don't get the concept of working weekends and nights and holidays. Some look down on it. Oh, you're missing time with your family, your friends. But some look on it to where you have that time off during the week and our flexibility of going on school trips with kids and everything.
Right. Yeah, I mean, do you think your son's gonna remember being there, or is he gonna remember presence?
Oh, being there. I mean, and we do what we can. I just said they're expensive, but purchase streaming cameras for when I can't be at sports events for it to be streamed. You know, not to teach family members how to do it, my sister-in-law, my mother, but that way I can sit when I'm here, I can sit and actually watch, and at least know what goes on. I mean, we do pretty good when my wife was opposite and actually on shelf, where we take pictures and video and everything.
Okay.
So, but I mean, gifts don't replace time, unfortunately.
Right. And so it seems like you have a pretty decent support system in your field, out your field.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes at the firehouse you get your typical harassment. I mean, I hate to say it's a job, it comes with the job, but it seemingly does. That does get old. I mean, we're adults here, let's act like adults.
Right. Do you have recourse for that harassment on a paper trail level?
Yeah, not yet. Normally you can kind of squash it. It's when it gets uncontrolled was where it gets aggravating and frustrated. You gotta. But luckily the chief of the department's pretty good about trying to step in and integrate or subliminally bring it up in conversations to where it's there on the. It's not forgotten about.
Right.
So.
Well, that's good. I mean, you already have a job that asks a lot of you, and then to also compound that with harassment from your peers must be quite frustrating for you.
It can. It gets frustrating. But it also is nice to know that your leadership supports.
Right.
To kind of dismantle.
Okay, that's good to hear. And do you ever journal about your feelings when you're harassed?
No.
Okay. We should establish a plan of action.
Okay.
Have you establish a goal? And because we know you have unconditional help from your wife, from your counselor, and from your peers. You said you were considering changing fields. Is that something you want to unpack today in today's session?
No, I'm not there yet. I mean, understanding that in my field, higher education is not important. It's more of OJT and time. But I do know outside of this field, it's important. So I mean, I'm trying to figure out what I want to do. I'm not there yet.
Have you made a list of ideas? Mentally? What are some of those ideas?
Graphic design, safety. One of the two main ones, some computer stuff. Apparently I'm pretty computer savvy, according to my peers and family. I don't think I am, but so I looked at it, But then it's the overwhelmingness of the cost of training in college. I mean, I think back when I went to Nicholls as a young one, that it was less than $2,000 a semester, and I mean, that was including books and all. Now it's minimum $5,000.
I'd like to revisit something you mentioned earlier.
Okay.
You mentioned that your support system believes you were computer savvy, and you don't think so. Do you find that when you receive compliments from those that matter to you, that you have a hard time accepting them?
Yeah, they're obligated to say it.
So in your opinion, what would be an acceptable source of praise and compliment?
I don't really like compliments.
And why do you suppose that is?
I don't know. Never heard them a lot in life. I always hear the negative side of things, not the positive side. So, to tell somebody, or somebody can say that I'm smart, well, I can tell you 5 people are smarter than me. You can tell that I'm talented, I can tell you 5 more people that are talented than me. Or that I'm a leader, I can tell you 5 leaders better than me.
So, you would say self-esteem is something you struggle with?
Potentially. You ever seen a band play live?
I have.
So I'll give you the diagram. You got your lead singer, right? Lead guitar player and the drummer. That's kind of the 3 guys that people look at. very important. You got lead singer, vocally. Sometimes he's a guitar player, or not. You know, the drummer was a drummer, backbone. But then you got 3 other parts that are big fill-in parts. You got the bass player, that only sets the tone with the drummer, so they work hand in hand. You have a keyboard player that comes in and mixes all of it and kind of fills the openness. But there's one guy that's probably the most important. Which one do you think it is?
The guy that mixes the sound,
Sound guy. Why?
he puts it all together.
Puts it all together. I feel that most of the time I'm the sound guy. The guy that takes it all in to make it come back out where it works, but it's not in the recognition part. My job is to turn the knobs and hit the buttons. And I've always felt that, no matter which part of, back through, high school and grade school.
I have an assignment for you before our next session.
Mute.
Okay.
But please go on, I'm listening.
I would like you to do something for someone. Good deed, change a tire for a stranger, whatever, let the Spirit guide you. And accept the compliment and see how it makes you feel. Accept the praise.
Okay.
Just see how it makes you feel and write it down.
Okay. Hey, I know we talked about a lot of things, but there is something you need to might try this. You know you can gamble from your phone now?
Really? Yeah, I know they
You've
passed that law recently.
Yeah, you saw that?
Yeah.
So you realize they got Icelandic basketball in Iceland you can gamble on?
Okay, is that something you found yourself enjoying lately?
I don't know what it's about, but I put money on it and an hour later, I win.
Okay, and this is a 24-hour platform?
Oh yeah. I mean, I used to stay on Twitter and to get in Twitter battle with people and I'm tied off of that. Especially at nights. Maybe play PlayStation.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they don't make NCAA football, so I got rid of that.
You talking about the video game?
Yeah. But I mean, now I can bet, and you put a little money in, and I joined. I don't know, was it FanDuel? I think I don't know. I got 2 or 3 on my phone, but they gave me money.
And this is something you do between calls?
No, normally at nights. Normally at nights, if it's on nights, if we've been up for a while, I try not to do it when I go to the gym. And when I go to the gym, I try to be focusing on, whatever weight sets and reps and body parts I'm working on. But I guess it's, we're in the firehouse. It's if we got up at 2 o'clock in the morning, I get up at 4 or 6, and sometimes I don't go to bed. So, but I could sit here and I had to look up, I won a tennis match and I was pretty pissed because they were leaving 5-1 in the 3rd set, and I didn't know they had sets. I had to look this stuff up.
So you're placing money on things you're not fully informed upon.
Yeah, I don't know what I'm doing.
And what's your win-loss ratio?
I don't know yet.
Do you think this might be a problem?
I don't know, but I keep finding myself going back to it. I want to check it, and when I'm checking it, I may see a deposit in the account, and I just bet it $50 and I made $200. So hey, I'm $150 ahead. So why don't I go on some other things?
Okay.
I mean, you can, I guess, make some money.
And how open are you with your loved ones about this hobby?
I think she's okay with it.
You think? Have you talked to her about it?
Well, she'll watch me play with it, and she'll ask, what am I doing? And I'll say, maybe put some money on a game or something. And she knows that, general basketball, we like the NBA, we'll watch it. But I mean, there's so much more out there. There's racing. I can bet on racing. And then I can bet on cars trying to make a left turn.
Right.
And it's all kind of part of it. I don't know, man. I sit here and then, I'll forget about it, and I'll get a notification on my phone, and I want to keep going and keep doing it. And I don't know. I mean, I don't want to say I've jeopardized financials for it, but it's like something that I'm drawn to.
Right. Sounds like you could be maybe looking at an addiction to gambling,
I don't know.
but it's not in my capacity to diagnose.
But I mean, I don't go to the casino, so am I really gambling?
I mean, it is a gambling platform. It's legal and it's a fun thing to do.
But can you define it as gambling? I'm just putting some money on a game.
Well, let's explore that. Have you ever been addicted to anything in your life?
Caffeine for a while. And then I got tired of it, so I just started drinking water.
Okay. You know, addiction can take many forms. I feel like, you know, just listening to you, that it is something that seems fun and harmless for now, but if you feel it's starting to affect your finances, you might want to look into behavior modification.
What's that?
That would be where you possibly pull back from the gambling a bit if it's having a negative effect on your life. If you find yourself unable to go a day without checking your phone, checking your FanDuel, if you feel like you got to get up in the middle of the night on a day off just to check the Icelandic basketball team.
I can't even tell you where they're at.
Okay, they're probably in Iceland, and you probably should space it out some. You know.
See, I thought of an idea. Only bet on sports in the United States. Because what happens is, at 2:30 in the morning, China has basketball going on.
And that's something you can bet on.
Yeah. Not that I can watch it.
So you're betting on things, they could be lying to you about the results.
Absolutely, that would never do.
And do you think that's a problem?
Very potential. So I quit doing China basketball. Because I can't watch it.
Right.
At least for regular basketball, I can at least put it on, you know, the TV, the iPad, the cell phone to watch.
Okay. We're gonna definitely revisit that in our next session.
So what's my homework, Doc?
I want you to do something kind for somebody.
Right? Take their compliment.
Take their compliment.
Do I text it to you or do I just write it down on my phone?
Write it down on your phone and bring it up next session. I would like you to enter into an informal agreement with me. You said that part of your plan to limit the gambling so it doesn't become a problem is only bet on the American sports.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're meeting again in 2 weeks. Can you informally agree with me to only bet on American basketball and American sports?
North America or South America? Because you know they got basketball down there too. I discovered that the other morning.
Let's stick with the NBA for now.
Okay, I will do.
Okay. And baseball's on strike, so you won't have any baseball games to pick
What
from.
about college?
They gamble on amateur athletes.
They're supposed to in some apps, but I haven't seen that. I just do FanDuel. I'm not one to go get these other major apps.
Just see how you feel about limiting it. See how you
You said the
feel.
NBA, so do I just stick with the NBA?
Let's stick with the NBA for now. See how you feel.
Okay.
See if you get the same fulfillment
So
that you've been
hockey.
getting.
I don't know anything about hockey.
Stick with the sports you understand. And that way, when you either gain or lose money, you'll understand why
Okay.
it's happening
So
that way.
NBA only for 2 weeks.
Yes.
All right. I can do this.
And is there anything else you would like to talk about?
Yeah, I think like, with all the storm stuff, I think once that stuff starts happening in motion, things will be better as well.
Okay. So do you feel like by having something to look forward to, your home being restored, your community being rebuilt, does that give you some hope?
Yeah. Yeah, there's always crooked people in the world, and there's always bad people, but there's also good people as well. And knowing that, and getting the okay from adjusters. I mean, we lost. I don't know if I told you this or not, but we were one of the people who lost insurance after they went insolvent in November. So nothing like in the middle of a plane being told, hey, by the way, I can't help you anymore. We have no homeowner's insurance. We found out New Year's Eve that we had a backdated to December 1st. We went about a month and a half with no insurance. That was very comforting. To now, speaking with somebody potentially next week on the replacement company, that can kind of help us continue on the restoration. So it's rough. I mean, it's rough to not have answers, because you want to do your own work.
Correct.
But you can't do your own work without a roof. I'm not a roofer, nor will I ever be a roofer. I don't trust myself on a ladder, much less on top of a roof. So there's that.
It's very admirable that you recognize your own limitations and that you're not ashamed to reach out to the professionals for things like roofing and insurance adjustment.
No.
Because Rome wasn't built in a day. We try to stay away from idioms and metaphorical speaking, but you seem like you have good direction.
Well, I mean, I've learned it doesn't pay to yell, or scream, or curse. There's proper time in conversation where vulgarity insinuates the meaning, but it's not always proper.
Mm-hmm.
So yelling at the adjuster, yelling at the bank, sometimes it's not them, it's the process.
And do you find that because you yourself have been yelled at in the course of your professional life, that it has tempered you into extending a respect to helpers and other
To a reasonable purpose, yes. I've had a couple outbursts. Whether it got my point across or not, I don't know. It felt good. But normally when something feels good, I've always been taught that probably wasn't the right thing to do. So it's that lesser of two. I know you said no idioms or whatever the word is. I can't think. But sometimes saying it is the release of the frustration. But it wasn't always the most proper way. And then you gotta eat your own words when you come back. Or you just have to deal with the consequences. And that's a hard decision to make, because sometimes the consequences can be detrimental. It's that song that I relate to. No one to hold 'em, no one to fold 'em. I don't know. I think George Strait sings it, some country song. But one of the lines was, no one to hold 'em, no one to fold 'em, no one to call you bluff.
Okay.
And dealing with these people, you have to know when, how long you keep cards covered before you throw your hand out. And unfortunately with insurance, it's not what they perceive for it to be. So it's rough. I mean, it's really hard. It's a really hard thing. But then to come to work, and then you got to do that work, and then you go home, and then your home is destabilized. You're living on cement floors, one bedroom for a family of three. Not the most conducive environment. And then you got a child in school, and you got a wife that works. You have animals.
Mm-hmm.
But the day continues. Tomorrow won't come.
You seem like you got a good handle on everything despite the many stresses you're facing. And I'd like to see you continue to have that positive attitude. And with that, I would like you to accept compliments. And when people speak positively to you with sincerity, understand and respect that sincerity and accept it.
Okay, I'll try.
Alrighty, well, that looks like it's going to be all of our time. Thank you for coming again, and I'll see you next time.
All right, thank you.
You have a good day.
You too.
Take care.